You got guys that punch hard and hit hard, and you got guys that come out and win a few rounds. But nothing really was tough.
Okay. A lot of people are saying that Usyk heavyweight run isn't a lot of fighters at heavyweight, of course, because he only fought, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighters at heavyweight.
So again, I think Oleksandr Usyk is an exceptional fighter, but you need to match him with someone that can actually match his work rate. Okay, and for me, Andrei Kabiel can match his work rate. He's going to go to the body. He's going to follow a game plan.
Floyd Mayweather thinks that without considering the whole picture, people are too ready to declare new heroes. He wonders if Oleksandr Usyk is really deserving of all the accolades he has been receiving. Floyd Mayweather never holds back while reminding them that he is the best. No fighter, even Oleksandr Usyk, is better before or after him. He claims Floyd disagrees with the notion that Usyk is an all-time great. Despite what fans say, Floyd feels that despite Usyk's skill, his own legacy is considerably more significant. He dominated the sport for years, making history in several weight classes and retired unbeaten. Floyd was never on the same level as Usyk's opponents. Floyd believes that Usyk is overvalued and falls well short of him in terms of brilliance, legacy, and competence.
Saying that Usyk heavyweight run isn't a lot of fighters at heavyweight, of course, because he only fought, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighters at heavyweight. But they saying that it's full of quality, right? I want you to understand, full of quality. Witherspoon isn't an all-time great heavyweight. His brother, Tim Witherspoon, you can argue. But Chance Witherspoon, no. Derek Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not. He's a fantastic competitor, but if you look at who he fought and look at who he lost to, Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not. Dubois is not yet an all-time great heavyweight. Look at who he fought, who he struggled with, who he lost to. Dubois is not an all-time great heavyweight. So we're left with, when you say quality, we're left with Tyson the Gypsy King Fury and Anthony AJ Joshua. Now, if you guys think that AJ is an all-time great heavyweight, you can. I can understand that. I definitely can. There's an argument to be made. But Anthony Joshua, when you think about him and a lot of ops from other great heavyweights, Anthony Joshua lost to the likes of Ruiz, been knocked out by Ruiz, was knocked out by Dubois. Anthony Joshua, I'm not sure if you would consider him an all-time great heavyweight, but you can make an argument. Tyson Fury definitely can. So beating Tyson Fury twice is really Usyk's claim to fame. It's his thing.
With increasing acclaim for Oleksandr Usyk is persuasively refuted by critics, such as Showbiz the Adult, because of his supremacy in the heavyweight class. Usyk is hailed as an all-time great by many, but some wonder if his opponents were good enough to back up these assertions. The quality of competition is the crux of the issue. The significance of Usyk's triumphs is diminished if the combatants he vanquished were not exceptional or at the height of their abilities. With the exception of Tyson Fury, who is often cited as a genuine elite opponent, the most of Usyk's opponents are not legendary enough to place him in the same league as historical figures like Ali or Holyfield.
But let's talk about Usyk. His performance was mwah. Okay, that's number one. And many of you say, well, Usyk is a top 10 all-time great heavyweight. I don't agree. Because Usyk has only had like 7 heavyweight fights. It's very stacked within those 7 fights. But really, it's hard to put him past people who's had 30 plus, 40 plus fights and just had a career, a great all-time career at heavyweight. But what I can say is that Oleksandr Usyk is one of the greatest fighters, pound for pound, ever. And I put him on my Mount Rushmore today. So I don't have him as an all-time great heavyweight, but I do have him as an all-time great pound for pound fighter. And where do I put him there? Pretty damn high.
The analysts also argue that Usyk's genius is better understood in terms of pound for pound rankings rather than his legacy as the greatest heavyweight of all time. They see him as a modern great who is a master craftsman with exceptional footwork, defense, and ring IQ. These commentators do not, however, go so far as to refer to him as a heavyweight legend. They think that more than defeating historically great opponents, Usyk's excellence resides in his own approach and versatility. As a result, Although he should be listed among the best fighters currently competing, his status as one of boxing's all-time greats is still up for debate.
A bit harsh on Daniel Dubois after the fight. And I actually think I'm, being fair in being a bit harsh on him. I think Daniel Dubois is an exceptional fighter, but there is something, where it's a confidence thing. And I think Oleksandr Usyk, give him a lot of credit. His jab looked exceptional on Saturday. And really that first, jab that landed on Daniel Dubois, it snapped his head back, and it was a powerful jab. It actually reminded me of Artur Beterbiev's jab when it's, when he really snaps it. And it was obviously a very powerful shot. So I think Daniel Dubois, I think he was confused by Usyk, and I think, he just looked so discouraged to me. Again, take nothing away from Oleksandr Usyk. I thought it was an exceptional performance. And to be honest, he really didn't even get out of second gear. And he didn't even need to. Now, obviously, there's a lot of, talk about what he's going to do next. In my opinion, really, there's only one fight that I would actually want to see. For me, that's Adrian Caballel. I think Adrian Caballel is someone that, number one, knows how to go to the body. I think if Oleksandr Usyk does have a weakness, it is the body. I think Adrian Caballel can follow a disciplined game plan. I think he's had a good string of wins. And I think his stamina is very good as well. I think Oleksandr Usyk is, winning a lot of these fights based on his speed, his stamina, and his footwork. These big heavyweights like Daniel Dubois, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, they cannot live with the pace that Usyk is setting. Daniel Dubois was knackered after 3 rounds in that fight. Okay, so they can't live with the pace. So again, I think Oleksandr Usyk is an exceptional fighter, but you need to match him with someone that can actually match his work rate. Okay, and for me, Adrian Caballel can match his work rate. He's going to go to the body. He's going to follow a game plan.
Critics also point out that a lot of Usyk's opponents have lost because they didn't use their abilities well, not because Usyk was unbeatable. Even after encountering him many times, some people found it difficult to adapt. According to analysts, a fighter with superior ring awareness and tactics, such as Michael Hunter or perhaps Joe Joyce, may have presented a greater threat. One of the most perceptive interpretations is that a more evenly matched bout would result from opponents who can match Usyk's timing and fluidity, which are things that very few heavyweights practice. Usyk's work was made considerably simpler by the fact that many people entered the ring without a clear plan.
Run. I cannot put that over the likes of Evander the Real Deal Holyfield fighting and beating the likes of Riddick Bowe, beating the likes of George Foreman. When he beat George Foreman was a killer. Beating George Foreman, beating the likes of Iron Mike Tyson. He was a huge underdog there. Beating the likes of Larry Holmes, beating Michael Moorer, Evander beating Michael Dokes, if you guys know who that is and how good of a fighter he was. Evander the Real Deal Holyfield has a different brain. I cannot put Usyk with his 5 heavyweight opponents over heavyweights, great heavyweights who made careers at heavyweight. We all know what Muhammad Ali did. Muhammad Ali beat the who's who of heavyweight greats. He fought them all and he beat them, okay? But then you have guys like Larry Holmes who have beaten the Ernie Shavers, who have beaten the Ken Nortons. You have the likes of Jack Johnson, which when you look at his box rec, you see his record and you don't know what he had to overcome to be so great.
Joshua underlines that it is too soon to put Usyk next to names like Evander Holyfield and Muhammad Ali. He contends that Usyk does not yet possess the qualifications necessary to be seated at that exclusive table. The best fighters in history are distinguished by the degree of competition they defeated. In addition to their skill, even Usyk's top 5 opponents wouldn't have made it into Ali or Holyfield's top 5. According to Showbiz, this contrast highlights the difference between being one of the greatest of all times and being outstanding in your own.
Was very pro Dubois, and we were willing him on being a London boy and stuff like that. I thought he won the first round. Thought Usyk won the second round, but I thought there was arguments for certainly giving Dubois the third round. But you could see, even if he was in the fight, things were starting to change after the second round. Usyk just had that extra little bit of class about him.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have him for any rounds. I just thought Usyk was so dominant, and that jab. And I'm not no boxing expert. I'm a casual. I'm a heavyweight casual. I just love to see big heavyweights box each other and knockouts. But I just feel like Usyk just was not even out of second gear. Like
didn't need to be.
He didn't need to be. He just had him on that jab, and he just kept plowing away. And whenever Dubois tried to land like a big shot, like one of those big punches that you talk about,
Old Money anticipated a battle when Daniel Dubois and Usyk entered the ring. Post-fight investigation, however, revealed a number of shortcomings in Dubois' planning and performance. His poor footwork, lack of head movement, and inability to maintain pressure were all highlighted by observers. This made people wonder, was Dubois merely unimpressive, or was Usyk really in control? Despite Usyk's obvious victory, some people think the bout revealed Dubois' subpar form that evening, more than it showed Usyk's best skills. Discussions over Usyk's level of competitiveness were rekindled with his poor performance.
That's why I still thought with the game plan, how do you not see that and adjust 3 rounds later and do it again? But the more disturbing thing to me, Bud, was the lack of body work from Dubois. How do you not go to the body after what happened in the first fight? How do you not test that? He didn't throw one body shot maybe until the 3rd round, and maybe he threw a couple throughout the whole entire fight, or as long as it lasted into the 5th round. That was surprising to me, and I thought they dropped the ball big time with that as well.
You know, to that point, when he did throw the one body shot, I'm not going to get deep into this because there was only one, but it almost looked like it bothered Usyk.
Right?
You know what I mean?
And it looked like very similar to the first fight, close to that belt line, right?
Yeah. But and it was low. It was a little low. It was. There's no doubt about it. No doubt. But still, to your point, how do you leave that alone? And then I'm gonna early in the show when I broke down the Holloway and Poirier fight, I'm gonna go back to that real quick now. Holloway won because he won because he's great and because he's who he is and because of his makeup and his intestinal fortitude, his skills. I understand all that. But he won the way he won this fight because he had a great fight plan. To your point, to our point, Dubois had no fight plan. And to my point, I'm going to answer your question. You asked a brilliant question. See, the show was so much better with you. I'm sorry. I'm not knocking nobody. I'm not. I'm grateful for everyone, and everything the history of this show has been. But you open up conversation for me by bringing me down places that conversation needs to be opened up by asking certain things that are relevant in this sport. And what you brought up is how. And I'm going to answer that question. How do you not have a better fight plan? How do you not adjust when you made those mistakes in the 2nd and 3rd round that Dubois made, reaching in? You see the guy stepping out. You see he's setting traps. How do you not adjust to that? I'm going to answer it, bud. Part of the thing that is Dubois is that what I was explaining before about being awkward, about being, a guy that kind of like, he simply gets directed. He's the kind of guy like, you direct him, you give him more confidence, and he's going to go. And he did that. He did that. He did it in the Herjavec fight. He walked through right hands. He did it in the Joshua fight. He took charge and he caught him. He did. But you can't do that in some fights.